Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another PS4 and PS5 jailbreak news update. We've got a lot of updates here, especially for the PlayStation 5. We honestly don't have very much for the PS4. There's just one thing I wanted to cover here for the PlayStation 4 regarding the 9.00 updates. Just to be transparent for the PS4 people who are not interested in PS5, we'll get that out of the way right at the beginning here. So the updates that we've got so far for the Lapse exploit on the PS4 continue to be for 9.00 right now. So there has been some updates from Chameleon. So for instance, we now have offline caching. So when you go on the host, it will automatically cache the host for offline use, so that once it's fully cached, you'll be able to just turn off the internet and then go on the page, and it should still be able to load the exploit when you're completely offline. So that's now been included. Again, this is still very much a work in progress thing. We also have just recently got a bin loader implemented in this particular version 2, which runs on port 9020, so you can send payloads from your computer over the network on port 9020 using Netcat GUI or Alaziv's payload injector or any other payload injector for that matter, and you'll be able to get the payloads sent over. We also have one of the OG web host developers who's made some of the best exploit host pages for the PS4 on previous exploits, Nasky or Nasky YT, who also has got an implementation now of the Lapse exploit. So this version, I believe, is just based on Chameleon's version here, but it is more fully featured in the sense that it's got a nice UI all set up here. And if you run the exploit, once it successfully loads and you get the kernel exploit successful, it will load etaHEN just like Chameleon's version. But beyond that, it also has all of the payloads that you can then select. So you can select the payloads option, and it's got all of your primary payloads, all of your main payloads, as well as your mod menu payloads for Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5. And also the Linux payloads are also included there. So all of the payloads are available using that host. And it's also got other handy options like the ability to update the host or recache the page for any updates that get released. But one of the things that I did want to mention here is that this is still very much a work in progress thing, and you really should not be using this at this point as your primary exploit host. Now, of course, there is the instability issue and the kernel panics. You can pretty much minimize most of the kernel panics if you just don't try and rerun the exploit when you get the unhandled rejection error. So whenever you see that error message, you're much better off to just restart the PS4 then and there, because then the console should in most cases restart normally, and that will get you back up and running faster to then try and load it again. Whereas if you get that unhandled rejection error and then you immediately try and run the exploit a second time, it will just kernel panic almost guaranteed, and then it will take even longer for your console to get back up and running after a kernel panic. So if you follow that particular step, you don't really run into kernel panics that often. You just have to restart your PS4 instead, which is generally faster. And then once you have it up and running, you should be mostly good to go. Now, there also seems to be some black screening on certain games with the Lapse exploit and potentially save corruption issues that are being stated here by Chameleon. Chameleon also saying that use the Lapse exploit at your own risk at the moment until me or another person declares it as stable. So still unstable, still potentially issues right now. It is stated as work in progress, and it has been work in progress for a while. So yeah, just generally, I would not be recommending switching to this permanently at the moment until it is actually ready. We're still very much in the testing phase. So anyway, just wanted to get all of that out of the way here to begin with. So moving on from that, we also have the Lua exploit, which has now been updated to include another game. So we now have another game that can be used to load the Lua exploit. So we have this Jinky Resurrection. So there is the demo version, which can be purchased from the PSN store. So if you're on the latest firmware, this would be, if you're wanting a jailbreak in the future, then what you can do right now is download one of the demos. You need to create a Japanese account on your PS4 or PS5, and then put your console offline. And then when a new kernel exploit comes out sometime in the future, you could use that demo as the entry point to trigger it. But of course, if you want to be able to jailbreak older firmwares right now, like 7.61 on the PS5, or eventually when we get the Lapse exploit fully implemented on the PS5 and PS4, we'll be using this to trigger it on higher firmwares. So on CD Japan, it looks like they're already sold out, as you can see, at least with this particular version. And then this one here says availability is to be confirmed. So that one might also end up being sold out already. Of course, there's other places like PlayAsia and eBay and other third-party sites where you might have international sellers who will be happy to ship it internationally so that you can get yourself a copy of the game. But that will be the one to try and get right now. It will most likely still be in stock in some places compared to a lot of the older ones, which have been available for a long time. Because this game's just been added, there's probably still a few places you'll be able to pick up a copy of this at a reasonable price. So anyway, that's basically it for PS4. Everything else here is for PlayStation 5. There's been a lot of updates on the PS5. So let's go ahead and chew through them here. So to begin with, we have an update on the MP4 or A53 IO coprocessor. So Ostrowski has released the GitHub project here for the ability to read and write to the MP4 itself. So it says here the following is an example showcasing read and write access to the MP4. The provided example will dump the A53.elf and the MMDSR logs to MNT USB 0/MP4. Code execution on MP4 may be achieved by writing to the physical address of an SDB GP context handler. Writes flush the instruction cache to the overwritten context handler may be immediately used. So the reason why this is a big deal is that this is generally a step towards hopefully getting native fake packages working for PS5 applications. The problem is that we're missing some keys that we need right now to be able to access and run fake packages on the PS5, which we do not currently have the appropriate permissions to access with the current jailbreaks. But by being able to enable read and write to this A53 IO coprocessor, might be able to get us to the necessary permissions we need to access those keys and eventually enable the ability to run our PS5 fake packages, which would fix the majority of the problems we have running our PS5 application dumps or game dumps that we have right now, where a lot of them just do not run in the extracted game file form, because that's not how they're intended to be loaded on the PS5. They're intended to be loaded in their package file form. And if we can do that, eventually that should fix those main issues where a lot of those game dumps are not currently working. So that's the general idea behind that. So we're seeing some good progress being made in that direction right now. So anyway, moving on from that, we do have some other updates on the PS5. There was a new version of AirPSX released that now adds this new script store feature. So AirPSX is a payload that can also be set up as an etaHEN plugin. And it essentially allows you to access your PS5 through this web browser-based desktop environment, which is really handy. It's got a remote app launcher, a file manager. It can install package files remotely, launch scripts on the console, and many, many other useful features. And now it's got this new script store that's been added. So instead of just writing your own custom scripts that you can execute on the console, you can now download and run ones created by other people. So you can just open up the script store. At the moment, there's two things that have been added so far. There's the clear browser cache. So if you run that script, that will just clear out the browser cache. And then when you go back on an exploit host via the browser, it should recache the exploit again for offline use. As you can see there, it is now recaching the page. So that is one script that's been added. Another one is the link dev script to enable remote play on your PS5 if you have an activated account. So if you select that option, it will give you your account ID as a base 64 string, as well as the PIN code needed to register the console. You can use a program like Chaki or the official remote play client, as long as you're activated with the same account ID as an official PSN account you can sign into on the official app. Either one of those will allow you to connect via remote play, and you'll be able to get up and running with remote play using AirPSX, another handy feature. We also have some new custom PS5 themes created by Master S9. So as you can see here, we've got a Ghost of Tsushima theme, a Last of Us Part 2 theme, GTA 6 theme, as well as a Batman theme and a PS1 theme. The PS1 theme is my personal favorite because it also transforms all of your icons into like PS1 game cases, which is pretty sweet. And it's got a nice background there as well. So this is definitely my favorite one here. So what you can do is just download the theme of your choice. Make sure you have etaHEN running with the FTP server enabled on your PS5 because it uploads all of the files via FTP. And then all you have to do is select your firmware with the application and then select the option to download the Icons app and then convert all of your icons. And then once that's all done, you can then install the theme, which will install everything onto the console. There's also an additional thing that you can add as well, also from Master S9 here, which is the new app-logo to ELF. So what this does here, it says it's a payload to add the path of the images in the database in the concept metadata table, the logo image info column. So yeah, basically this is just like an extra section in the database where you can add an image file, and this will go ahead and add all of your icons to those sections of the database so that as you scroll through the theme here, you can see it actually shows the icon kind of above where the play game option would be. You've got the actual icon showing up there as well. So that's what that option does. You can basically just send the payload once to add it and then once again to remove it. So it's a toggleable payload. So that is what you can do to add and remove those entries to the database. So some pretty decent themes there added by Master S9, and I'm particularly fond of this PS1 version right here. And we also have Lightning Mods, who has been sharing some new features that will be coming in the upcoming version of etaHEN. So we've got a new PS5 app loader option. So this will allow you to run your PS5 game dumps just from an option in the etaHEN toolbox. So instead of, going into items flow to create the applications and run them from items flow itself, you can actually just use this option here in the settings with etaHEN. Even if you presumably don't even have items flow installed, you'll be able to launch them from here. Just a kind of quicker way to access them, I guess, if you want to load them directly without having to go through a homebrew application. So it's pretty handy that this is now coming, and I believe this is basically in direct response to the recent method of being able to run game dumps using the homebrew launcher, which some people are using over items flow. It just kind of depends which method you prefer. So this is kind of the answer to that, so that if you don't want to use items flow, you can just have it as an option in the settings to launch whatever game dump you like. On top of that, there's also going to be a couple of shortcuts, so that there'll be a shortcut to this option in the settings, so that you don't have to go looking for it in the settings every time you want to load your PS5 dumps. You'll be able to just run a shortcut on the home page that will take you straight to this section. There's also going to be a shortcut to access the cheats in the same way. And another thing that's going to be coming are the updated KStuff options. So the latest version of KStuff will be implemented in this version of etaHEN, which has the 3 different options for the sysent vec or something like that, where you can choose between disabling the one for both PS4 and PS5, or just PS4 or just PS5. Those options will be included in the KStuff toggle, so you can decide which ones you want to toggle on and off when you're disabling and enabling KStuff. So that's going to be included in the next version of etaHEN as well, and that's all been shared out there publicly by Lightning Mods at the moment. So anyway, that's all of the updates I've got here for this video, so hope you guys enjoyed this one or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and once again, I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.